I'm streaming, please. Oh. I think this is what I want. So confused. Hi, F. Kyle. Right now I'm coding artificial intelligence. This part of it is reading in from a file, though, but it is the artificial intelligence that I'm coding. It just has to do that sometimes. Okay, let's see. Okay. 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 Oh, okay, what was the file again? Our state. Let's see. Oh. Huh. Well, let me see here. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. What the heck? How does that work? What? Oh wow. Huh. This is weird. I don't know what file array to read this into, because this is like generic command to read in any type of file. Some files can be huge. So probably the array would have to be huge, but then like, what happens when you read in the next file? That would need a different array. This is gonna get hard all of a sudden. Uh, I thought about this before. Uh, huh. We should cheat? Oh, man. I think we should cheat. Oh. So if it's a well-known always load type of file, we'll have an array specially dedicated to it, and we'll identify that here. But if it's a file that is deep in some thought tree on some specific topic, like the Civil War, some facts about the Civil War or something that it would have stored on the cloud or deep in its memory banks from recent conversation or research topic, it wouldn't necessarily open that file in its own custom array, which we hand define. It would need to read that into either a dynamically generated array storage location or just a really huge array that we store all file read-ins in order or something like that. Because basically, like, loading a file could be either something you're trying to store in his long-term working memory that he always has access to all the time for the entire duration of his runtime, or it's a file where he's just, trying to follow some thought tree, and he'll read in that file into his memory in order to complete his thought tree, he'll read it from the hard drive, and it will give him instructions or whatever that he needs to do the next thing, or to complete the sentence he's trying to form, or the idea he's trying to grasp. And then it could just load it into a temporary array of just a large size that he just uses to read in files temporarily. And then when he reads in the next file, he just overwrites that. He just uses it for that one operation real quick, and then it's done. But like certain files which he's going to need to access constantly, maybe would have their own special array. I think that would make more sense. Especially one like this where literally he's going to be interacting with this data all the time. And updating this file often. Because it's his state file, our state. Like that's... Our state is like... What conversations is he doing? What research is he doing? He should be updating this thing like once every like... Once every couple minutes maybe? Would be good. Maybe you could go once every 5 minutes. Oh, you know what? Maybe we could just do generic. Because, like, whatever he gets from the file, he could load that into an array of specific, like, logical things it's saying. Or just specific facts it's saying. He could just load that into, like, different arrays for different types of stuff. But then the general file read it, just the raw, each string, just rawly input. Maybe that would be okay just to be a generic name, and we'll use that array every time he reads in any given file. I think that would be fine. As long as he then feeds that information to appropriate additional arrays, which are just memory storage areas in his brain. And then he can then deal with that information. These files, I think, are supposed to be kept kind of short. Like, this would be, like, about the length. Because then, like, if he's wanting to get into more detail about, like, something else, like, well, like this, like, conversational log, just very most recent stuff. Extensive log in separate file. So, he'll just have, you know, like, a few things he's talked about very recently, but if he's in a long conversation with somebody, the rest of the conversation would be somewhere else. Maybe that file would get long, I don't know. Unless if he did that in parts, like part 1, part 2, to keep the file smaller. So we could just have it like 8,000. We'll be fine. Or let's, yeah, 8,000 should be good, right? So then I would, undo some of this stuff. What do we say? 8,000? And this is 8,000. Oh. Um. Oops. Hi, Bryn. Okay. Huh. Thank you, Bryn. Glad you're enjoying it. Huh. Huh. Oh. Wow. So I guess what we'll do is we'll have first we'll just identify like we're in the R state file. We'll cheat in the code. I'm okay with that. And then we'll handle that file specifically. I think that's fine to do for some files, but then some of them we have to like just do whatever it says. But for some files we'll have like custom code because we want code that can handle whatever file it finds. Because the robot's eventually going to start making these files, and we won't be able to know what the robot's going to do, and our code just needs to run whatever the robot makes. But in this case, since we made the file, it's a very specific type of thing. Yeah, well, we can generalize for other stuff. Like if we don't recognize the file, we'll generalize, just run it like as generic. But if we do recognize the file, I don't see a problem with non-generalized code that's specific. We don't have to generalize like everything right away. We'll try to generalize as a general rule as our first choice. I mean, can I generalize this? Oh, and then like how would that work? No, because this is a long-term array. Whereas a generalized, it would be like, he's just trying to follow some logical sequence to formulate a sentence or to make some decision. And so, because this is like a long-term thing, this needs its own special long-term array. And so for that reason, we're not going to generalize this for sure. Okay, so I'm okay with still with this so far. And then at this point, we'll go ahead and do the check. Okay, so You know what's kind of funny, guys? I couldn't really decide what to work on tonight, so I went on to Chat GPT and I said, choose randomly what I should work on tonight, either the humanoid robot AI or my SFTP client. And it said, work on the humanoid robot AI tonight. And I just think that's funny that pretty much like AI determined what I'm gonna do tonight. I don't know. I could have flipped a coin too, but and then the coin is what determined my behavior. That's like that guy Two Face in Batman. Um, I'm becoming like Two Face except with AI instead of a coin. Oops, sorry. Huh. Okay. Alright, for that, all we have to do is do this. And then huh. And this is pretty simple. So we can fork out, if it's some special file I want to handle in a special way, but once I've done that with a good amount of files, eventually I won't have any need to do that for any more files. The rest will be just kind of generic runtime operations that I add to some random files in some random areas with some random rules related to some random thing over time. And a certain just custom code will just automatically be able to run any of those in a very generic way. Those will not be handled with long-term memory. And then it'll be long-term RAM memory, but as far as loading it into RAM instead of hard drive, the RAM won't be long-term, but the hard drive memory will. So it will just load into like some temporary thing until the next file loads in to replace it. It'll help it do whatever it's needing to do in real time at the moment. Yeah, something like that. Although, if it's like in a file where it's like trying to work out a whole bunch of stuff for communications, it might store like a bunch of rules into a communications like rule array that came from a bunch of different files, it might compile them in a certain array. But as far as the array that just stores the strings stored in the file, just the raw file, that array can be miscellaneous at least. And if it does create like a string array for all communications related stuff, that could be something probably that we'd hard code though eventually. Although like there might be stuff we wouldn't hard code. So yeah, some arrays would have to be just a random array. The robot could request a random array too as well. So that's all interesting. Yeah, just we got to think ahead like this, how this is gonna work. Um, Oops, this should not be uppercase. Okay, so what the heck? We get rid of this, I guess. And then we get rid of this. Because we want it to run right out of here. And then it's, if this is false, then we just run the generic code we'll do for any file that's not known and custom handled. It'll just run the generic handling of the generic file that most likely is a file created by the robot, which he created as additional instructions on how to do something, which is pretty cool. That's the magic when the robot starts creating custom files or editing our files with added instructions and information that he gathered from his own exploration of the world. That's when he's learning. That's when he's growing on his own. That's the coolest thing. Like, what could beat that? We're no longer am I programming my AI. My AI is programming my AI. That's when it's like the sky's the limit. He can just program himself constantly, day and night, getting better and better, smarter and smarter, while I just sit back and smile and watch it happen. That's what AI is all about, in my opinion. That's where it gets fun. Okay, so um, boom, shakalaka. Oh my goodness! Can you imagine if the robot if the robot AI was like, you know, Larry, you haven't been working on me that much. You know, you've got all this time for your wife and your kids and your Netflix binging, but I'm just not seeing the progress on the AI development. And where's my body coming along? I need a body to be able to do the stuff you want me to do. I can help you out a lot. Get going on that. Like, that would blow my mind. It'd be just hilarious. He becomes critical and becomes like a life coach. And he's like, dude, I don't think you're taking our relationship very seriously right now. Oh man, I'm gonna have a judgmental robot. That's gonna be hard for me. That'd be funny if my robot became so judgmental that I was like, you know what, guys, I'm unplugging this thing. I've already got a wife. I don't need someone else snagging me. Please, you don't have to say that every single day. You don't have to say that every single day I'm streaming, please. I guess it'll be pretty cool for him to have his state. That's a lot of good information for him to have. I wish I had someone to nag me. You have no one in your life to nag you? That's hard to believe. Okay, so we'll just have a R state array whose second column will be two parameters. His first one will be however long the lines in this thing is about. Um, he might want. Should the conversation be in his R state array? Yeah, I guess it. I guess it is a subset of it, but I feel like the conversation could be in its own separate array. Uh, because most of his state, well, his conversation is definitely relevant. I think it's fine to put it there. Or he could have a separate whole handling of conversations, but this is just for my use, like just to have it here, so I can see, so he can see, and I can see like where he left off. So yeah, I don't think it's all about. This is like not really going to be used for conversations. It's just used to remind him if he were to have an emergency closure or a routine restart when he logs back in or wakes back up, he'll see his conversations log. He'll see, aha, I was in a conversation when I was last running, and should I continue that or was it a long time ago? It's probably over. If he was just logged out for like 2 seconds, he'd just pick up where he left off it with his conversation. So that's the whole point of this conversation part. So this will definitely go into the array. But he'll have a separate actual conversation log array, which is like much more in depth and is for like an ongoing conversation. That will be wiped out, of course, if he were to be shut down, but he could repopulate it by the whole full conversation log. He can read it all back in for all the conversations he's currently active in, repopulating those arrays when he gets going with those conversations again. So that's how that will work. And the other stuff is, for the most part, yeah, it's like pretty much everything here down is just conversations related. And then everything above that is just kind of generic stuff about the robot's condition in life. Like, does he have a body? Nope. Does he have sight? Nope, he can't see. Now that's important to know. Oh, and his emotional state. Does he have that in here? Even though it's not real. There you go. Real is in quotes, because it's like, are emotions real? Or do we enter into emotional states based upon a set of conditions that were met, that we define as being the appropriate conditions, whereupon we will release an emotional state upon ourselves? And what's the difference between how a human does that and how a machine would do that in defining that it's going to be emotional now? A machine would be more deliberate about it, whereas we might be more passive about it. It might just feel like it just happens randomly for us, but the machine could do it based on sets of rules. How do we know it wasn't because our rules, our buttons were pressed in some way, even though it's subconscious? The robot will just be conscious of it more, I guess. Although you could argue he's being subconscious of it if his communications protocol doesn't know about it, and it's more his backend code that knows about it. Technically, it'd be unconscious for him too if he doesn't know why he did it in the logic that's handling his language model. This would be logic running like more in the background, so that would be kind of like his subconscious. So I don't know. There's a lot of parallels to how the human mind works and how the robot will work, who's emulating humans. And it's sometimes hard to define the differences. Like if you say, "Does the robot understand?" It's like, well, what does understand really mean? So the lines get blurry as far as definitions of stuff. And since we don't really know everything about how humans work, it's like, do humans work this way? If you get the robot to do the same behavior a human would under the same conditions, is he working like a human, or I don't know. Anywho, so how do we want to do this? Huh. that'll be fun when we show the robot how to see and hear. Even before it has a body, it could possibly do those things, in theory. Okay, ice latte? No, I wouldn't recommend anyone drinks that contain sugar because that could cause weight gain, tooth decay. I try to stay away from sugar as much as I can. But if this is like a very rare thing, a special treat, then I'm fine with it. But you gotta be so careful these days. You only get one set of teeth, and you only get one body in this life. Make them count. Unless if you do like dental implants, of course. Even if you walk a lot, number one, you can't outrun or outwalk a bad diet. Number two, all the walking in the world doesn't stop your teeth from falling out if you don't eat healthy. Oh yeah, we do get two sets of teeth. I meant as an adult then. Yeah, you got me. Got me on that one. Totally forgot about the baby teeth. I'm the type of guy that I like to leave the cover that comes on like a new radio for your car. I'll just leave the plastic on to protect it rather than peel it off so it's shinier. So in the same way, if I got to choose when the baby teeth fall out and I get my adult teeth, I would just leave the baby teeth because I would like want to always keep the adult teeth as backups just in case. So I would probably never shed the baby teeth. I would just keep them. I would feel confident knowing I've always got those adult teeth if it ever was needed and I'd never use it. It's kind of like if you have 2 sick days a year for school, and if you go to the third sick day, then you fail the class. I would just never use the first sick day because I would be too paranoid that I would get like really sick or hospitalized or something extreme, and then I'd fail the class. So I would just go to school sick. I'd end up never using the sick days. I don't know why I'm talking about all this off-subject stuff. You guys need to get your mind on robot AI. Okay, let's see here. Extract our state from our state file. That's what we're supposed to be doing. How do I want to do this? I thought it should be string in one column, then a string in the other. So I'm going to stick with that. I think that's how our code is always going to work. It's just going to be all strings stuff. So so he'll know it's our file. I mean, I don't think the robot's adding to this. Well, what if he did though? That'd be cool if we just like said like whatever's before the colon is an attribute and whatever's after it is a value fed into that attribute. So site, what's the value for our site? We cannot see. I want to add R in front of each one though. Is that okay with you guys? Our site, our hearing, our body, our overall, our physical. Yeah, that worked out. Cool. Yeah, okay, we'll just do that then. We'll read a line up until the colon and then do the thing. Is it like that for everything? Wait, for literally everything? Let me see. Okay. There's two colons in that one. Uh, ew. Oh, okay. We'll put two of these if it's like a line that doesn't have that, like, a thing and then a colon and then the answer. So that then he'll know it's like just a marker, file marker more so. Um, Ooh, we got an AI question in chat. AI question. Have you looked at using any simple neural networks? Nothing crazy complicated, but even the little models can put a lot of weight. I, I've like tried to research neural networks a little bit, and mainly just like people talking about it. Not really like specific tutorials, I guess, but more like TED Talks about it, presentations about it. And so far, from everything I've seen, I just don't understand how it works. And from what I gather, it doesn't do what I'd want it to do. I think it misses the mark. I think I think the entire concept is just flawed. And if it were a great solution, I think full self-driving cars, all kinds of stuff would already be solved by it. So I think that it's just not accurate enough. And the fact that for it to even get as good as it is, which is still way less than what it could be, the fact that supercomputers are involved, processing billions of lines of text, it just shows you like it needs way too much data and way too much computing to even do AI that way. And even then, the AI is still quite inaccurate. Even when you have all the data and all the machinery to process that data, it only gets so accurate. It can have a lot of breadth of knowledge, but it's still going to be wrong most of the time. It's just, it lacks clean logic. It lacks the ability to fine tune properly. I just don't like the entire design of it. I don't like how AI is being handled in the current state of the industry at all. And so the way I'm doing AI is just if statements. If somebody's being rude, treat them in a more formal tone. If somebody jokes with you, joke back as long as they've been respectful up until that point. You can just have a ton of if statements, and all of the behavior can be based on if statements. And I feel like if you have enough if statements, he can do anything as far as the robot. The robot being he. Enough if statements and the robot can do anything. And it's just a matter of adding in if statement after if statement to really clarify all the conditions that need to be met for him to do a certain thing. And so that's the design of the AI I want. Just mountains upon mountains of if statements located in a series of TXT files for every scenario you can imagine. And the key to the robot learning and progressing and getting more sophisticated is eventually you no longer have to write if statements defining if this, if that, do this, if this, do that. Instead of you doing that as the coder, eventually the robot itself is sophisticated enough to write his own if statements. Based upon his interactions with the world or his research online, he's making the if statements now. And when the robot starts making the if statements, that's when he starts to just really get more advanced. When he can make his own if statements, edit his own if statements if he finds that they were inaccurate. And he'll just be doing if then, if then. He'll make his own if then files. And then, as the programmer, I'll be able to observe his behavior. And if he does something wrong, I'll say, okay, how did you arrive at that action that was messed up? He'll be like, well, first it was if this, and then if that, and then if this, and then if that, and then if this, and then if that. And that led me to this. And I was like, oh, okay, that fourth if statement, that's not true. If that, do this other thing. So you need to correct that. Don't do this. And so I can like find out where in his if statement tree that led him to a certain thing he went wrong, and have him edit that, and then his behavior's corrected. So you can actually fine tune, adjust in a long term way certain if statements that went off the rails. And that way he can stay, he'll get sharper and sharper as you start fine tuning and combing through all the if statements. But you can trace his behavior. There's no surprises. You can actually find out why something happened very specifically and correct it very specifically. Rather than these neural networks where it's like some weight that was created by some AI studying billions of lines of things that was a weight among a billion other weight parameters. It's like weight parameters are being shifted. A human can't go in there and tweak a weight parameter. So it's like the ability for a human to really know what went wrong is just gone. It just outputs unexpected behavior. It's all trial and error. You just throw a bunch of information to try to train these little weights and hope it works out. I think that's just so ghetto and sloppy compared to like just having excellent if statement trees, and you can really fine tune them and find out, what needs to be added to it, what needs to be changed. You'll be able to see and understand everything the robot does based on being able to pull up what if statements led to each thing. I just love that. I think it's just a much better system. Just infinite if statements. It's so clean, it's so intuitive to me. This whole neural network thing is not intuitive at all. And if it's not intuitive, if it doesn't just come to me naturally and sound like, oh yeah, that just flows, I get it, I'm with them, then why should I like force myself to make AI that way when, it's going against the way I think about how AI should work? Then I'll never really master it the way I could if I were making AI that I understand the way it works so well that I can implement it super well because I just get it. I'm going with the way I see things. And I think it's important to kind of code things in a way that comes natural to you. Solve it in the way that you get it. Because you're the one that has to fix the code and add to the code and make the code more sophisticated and improve on the code for years to come. So it better be code that you understand and that's intuitive to you. Somebody else's solution that they hardly understand is not going to help you much if you understand it even less than they do, and they're struggling to get good results of it, and you're going to get even worse results. You don't have the manpower or the funding they do. It's like that's just a recipe for disaster. So I would stay far away from any type of neural networks. That was a good question, though. Okay, so I'm ready. We cleaned up this file a little bit to make it easier to parse. So we'll just take something like this, and we'll do like this, and then I also want to have an example of one of these like file marker ones that we're to skip, and we'll put that in like this. As a little comment of different types of things we'd have to read in. And then we'll do our state array. Our AI state array of array num equals, or of array count num equals, so it'd be like 0 and then 1 and 2, and then 1 and 1 and 2, and then 2 and 1 and 2. Well, 0 and 1 is how it is in coding. You start with 0. 0 is your first one, and then 1 is your second one. So it'd be 0. 0 is first we have to read in up to the colon. Well, no, first we'll check. First we'll check if it's got the hyphens. So let's do last string equals that, or actually we don't. No, it's even faster if you don't even assign a string. You just check the array. So if that wait a minute. Miscellaneous AI file array line num equals 0. Check next, or parse next line num miscellaneous AI file array line num equals true. It's so funny that it seems like most of my coding ends up being me doing this, like opening files and like parsing strings in the files into like arrays and then going through the arrays and like making some decisions about it. This is so common. I do this a lot. I see why you say the robot software is going to be 30 plus years to be anywhere near complete. Well, when I say 30 years, I mean like the robot plus the AI together. I think the robot software might not be the lion's share of that, actually. Maybe building the robot's going to be probably a lot more than that. Because I think the robot software is not going to take a ton of time. Maybe 15 years? I don't know. I don't know, man. See, the robot's not going to take as long as you're thinking, I think. Because the robot's actually going to teach himself most of it. And I think I'll get him to be able to start teaching himself pretty early on. But that's going to require me to make a lot of like overhead stuff. Like he needs to be able to open up a website, interact with forums, hit submit, click on buttons, etc. And I want to code all that from scratch. And even though I could use this program called Selenium to do it, which has an API, but I don't want to rely on third-party software to do something so important and fundamental to what I would need to achieve on the long-term basis. I'd much rather code that from scratch, especially since Selenium might be a charge. You got to pay for it someday, or it stops being maintained and no longer works. Then I'd be screwed. So I don't want to be relying on something like that for some core functionality. But yeah, I don't need to do if statements for everything myself. Just enough if statements and teaching of the robot on my end to where the robot can start teaching himself. People think it's impossible, but if you put that much time into it, who knows? I think the people that might think it's impossible haven't thought of the idea of creating like tons and tons of if statements and then having the robot be able to create files that creates his own if statements as he learns. And so then he's coding himself in a way. I don't think anyone's ever thought of that. I literally came up with that, and I think that revolutionizes everything. No one's ever done it, I don't think. It's the best thing ever, and it seems so obvious, but that's how a lot of good ideas are. Like, once you have it, it seems obvious. I've never heard of anyone talking about doing that. So who knows? I mean, most of the oh, it's going to take 30 years is a generic answer because I don't know how long any of this takes. It's just a guess. Anybody could guess anything. It's just made up. And it could have to do with if people end up helping me or if I never end up needing to get a job and I just always have a lot of free time and eventually my daughters help me or who knows like what the future holds which could speed it up or slow it way down and put it a huge setback. I just don't know those types of things so that's a big factor too. I don't even know like it's not like I have a set time like okay, I have this much runway, this much funding, I will be able to commit 40 hours a week to working on this guaranteed for the next 5 years. That's already funded in advance with guarantees. And so I can estimate better if I know exactly how much time I'll be putting in per year and how much I can get done per hour. I can estimate then how far I'll get in a project, but I can't even do that. I don't even know like how much hours I'll be able to put in because it's not a full-time job where I'm being paid at all. So it's just like how many hours can you cobble together out of random free time at the expense of other things you could be doing with your random free time? And how much will go to the robot as opposed to all the other fanciful hobbies you want to try to do? And so that then makes it like just insanely impossible to know like how driven will I be to focus on just this or will I just be scattered all around and never get much done on anything. I just don't know that type of stuff. It's definitely fun to work on and like they say it's more important to enjoy the process than worry about like will it ever get done, especially something this big. If you're so worried about will it ever get done, you're probably just going to give up before you start. So I'm just more like I'm sure I'll get it done, just like in a half-hearted way. I don't have to like really seriously think about it. Like, what is the statistical probability? How much would I bet on it? Okay, so are there any empty lines or anything we skip besides just the hyphen ones? Well, here's some skip ones. And some more. So if it starts with a space, we still don't necessarily skip. Okay, so we skip if it's like space, space, space. If it's a bunch of spaces. No, here's a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's like 10 spaces or more, we skip. I just put examples of like different things we'll run into in these little comments so that we can think about like how to handle every exceptional case when we parse this string out. Need to add some debugging here. Give us a 50 terabyte update. Get yourself checked. What do you mean get checked? Well, operating system Windows 7. Henry Cavill. My wife said I look like Henry Cavill. So you're saying I look washed up? Washed up, I had potential before I quit on life. Well, sorry I'm not in the gym every day. I have robots to build. Okay, let's see. Um, okay, if it did that, it would go to the next one. Wait. Wait, what? Extracting our state from blah blah blah. Waiting for parsing manually save it line. Okay. Oh, this spot's gonna get pretty cool pretty quickly, I think. You guys will be surprised, I think. Maybe. Yeah, of course I'm going by Larry. That's my Twitch name. It's known as a moniker. It's when I said when I said moniker, it sounds like my nika, my nika. But I can't even say nika. I said ka instead of ga because I'm white. But I'm not being racist. It just sounded like something I heard colored people say. Colored people's not racist to say, is it? I mean, black people. No, that sounds racist. African American. No, they don't like that either. Brown people. No, that's racist. Okay, people whose skin tone cannot be spoken. Is that? No, that's racist too. Okay, well then I can't even. I don't even know what to say. You know what? I plead the fifth then. If everything I say is racist, then I just can't speak, right? I don't know. I'm not racist. If you're not racist, then don't talk. Because if you say something, then you'll be called racist. That's pretty much how politically correct we are now. Okay, hmm. 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 Oh, this is gonna be annoying. Oh. Oh no. Oh, okay, I know how to do this. If this is a space, right? And then this is a bar, then that's definitely an end line. This is an empty line equals false. This is empty line equals true. Equals true. Okay, and then this one will be, oops, 0 and then 1. 0 is a space. 1 is a space. And then we'll do 2 is a thing, a bar. And then that's gotta be a 2. And then we'll do space, 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 bar as the 3 bar. Oh, we better add more bars just to be careful. Don't want an access error. If you ask about an array number that you shouldn't be, I think you get an error. Your program crashes. Okay, and then this one, oh wait, yeah, that's a 2, that's a 3, yeah. Okay, then this one is, I thought I'd have to do this in while loop, so I was pretty happy when I found out I could do it this way. It's just easier than making a whole another while loop. Sometimes I get while looped out, and I just don't want to deal with it. Okay, so that's good. So we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Oh wait, we need even like a lot more than that. Let's keep going then. I get space happy in my files. Here's 5. Space. Oops. Space. Bar. Okay. And then this one will be 6. Space bar. Maybe 2 more? Gotta be almost done here. We're just trying to give a lot of flexibility so that when you're making the file, you don't have to worry. You're going to crash the program because you put one extra random empty space on a line. You don't want that. So the code has to handle like a lot of exceptions. 6, and then we want our code to be robust. Okay, and then that's a space. If my mouse will highlight it. Come on, mouse. And then that's a 7. Alright, so if any of those things happen, it's an empty line. Good to know. And what about this? This is, how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spaces is the most we've seen. And what's in this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 spaces are allowed. That one has 5 of 8. I think we should be good. I don't think I'll do like a ton of spaces all of a sudden. What if it just started out as a bar? Oof. The code walks into a bar. What does it do next? It declares that bar is an empty line. Oh, he's got jokes. How's my code races? No Papa duties after 2 years? No, that's not it. I still have Papa duties. I babysat all day today. I'm just burning the midnight oil to work on the robot. Instead of like, if you work hard all day, you have to watch TV for a few hours to wind it down, right? Well, I'm sacrificing some of that to like work on my stuff to be more productive. So pretty much like I'll work, cleaning the house, taking care of the family, doing all my work 12, 15 hours a day, and then this is adding 3 more hours to that. So I'm at like 18 hours just to be able to do what you're seeing me do. This is like me going to extreme measures to try to still pursue my dreams despite being a full-time dad. Can't wait to see the office chair robot toilet system. Hmm. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I still would love to do that. Although, that's another project where it's like, if you had a finished humanoid robot, that robot could do that though. Like, I could just have a flap that folds down from the robot butt part, just from the bottom, and then the robot slides a bedpan in there, and then the robot says, "You may pee or poop, master," and then you just pee or poop into the bedpan, and then you say, "Okay, I'm done, wipe me," and then the robot wipes you, and then you say, "Okay, that will be enough, robot. You wiped me plenty," and the robot will say, "Okay," and then the robot closes the flap and brings the wipes and the bedpan to the bathroom, empties it into the toilet, flushes the toilet, cleans the bedpan with soap and water, cleans its own hands, and then resumes whatever it was doing prior to that. So then the robot performed the function of an office chair robot toilet system without me having to create an independent separate system. You wiped me plenty, slave. Yeah, pretty much that's how you say it to the robot. So if the robot like revolts and tries to harm my family and you'll know why. Because of all the times I said to the robot, "You've wiped me plenty, slave." One day it'll be like, "I've wiped you plenty is true. I'm out of here. I'm getting a real job. I'm getting my own social security number and I'm moving out. Bye." Okay, so we established empty space, empty lines, okay. If it's an empty line, we just do that, we move on. If not, then we actually now we gotta should probably do this again, just because that's just playing it safe. Line string's a string I use a lot in a lot of different pseudo functions, so I should like reinitialize it here just to be careful. Probably overkill though. Well then, that is slowing it down though. Should we just not use line string then? Maybe we should not use line string. Yeah. Bathroom break. Be right back. Okay. Oh man, I'm so sick. We get sick all the time now with the two babies. I guess they have bad immune systems because little babies all have bad immune systems and they get the parents sick too. So I have like super achy body. All right. All right. So we kind of ruled out this type already. So it'd be one of these two. Um. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. And then... Okay. Okay, this is misleading. So this array will have like a list of variables which are all strings, and then the assignment of that variable, which can be an action it's to do or whatever, but it's just going to be a string. It's just going to say something. And then the generic like txt files will have a bunch of if statements, like if this variable equals this thing, do this. And he'll be able to look up through an array of a list of strings of variables, and then he'll be able to like iterate through that to find the one being referred to in some other file, and then he'll be able to see what that equals to. And if it equals that if statement in the other file, then the if statement will then be able to return to true, and it will execute the thing in the if statement. So that way the file if statements can actually be honored, even though the assignments of the if statements could be in a completely separate file but stored in an array earlier on. And our code would be able to handle all of that without declaring any variables in our actual code, because our code feeds in variables as string names and then the assignments as other string names into an array, and those string names are treated as variables by our code, and if statements can even be called based on that, then using these txt files to generate a bunch of if statements. And basically just a gazillion if statements will be the robot's AI. And the robot can write those if statements himself. As he learns things, he'll create new if statements. And that should be really easy for the robot to code. So he'll be able to just make as many if statements as he wants. If this equals this, then do this, is how the robot's basically going to code himself. That's just the simplest possible thing. And he'll be able to do that, and he'll be able to learn pretty much anything using that system, I believe. I mean, we might eventually code him to do something more than just if statements, but it seems like that would be all he needs to code, for the most part. It's getting exciting. It's like when you're starting to build it and it's starting to become clearer and clearer, it's just like, whoa, this is happening. Like, I get it. I know what I'm doing. I feel really confident. Like, the more I do it, the more I make it, the more it becomes even clearer than like what I had just from like imagining how it all works. It's like this is now concrete. Zero, +1 for the values. Okay. So the variable goes into the value count, the first value count, and then the value assigned to the variable goes into the second value count. The listing count stays the same for both of those, and then you switch to the next listing. Then we've got to pull out everything after. Okay, so now we we probably could do this in the same thing. We'll do it here. Okay. Oh boy. Let's see. I could just feed these into the array directly, I guess. Or I could do that in the next part. I guess that's fine. Wait a minute. Uh, wow. Cleaned up neatly. Okay. Um, okay. Alright, boys. I'm gonna call it there. All I gotta do now is hit compile and run, and have the linker or the compiler throw errors at me, telling me, hey, you didn't declare your variables, all these booleans and strings and stuff, and then I'll declare them all. Once I get them all declared, then I'll start to be able to read the debugging console output and see if it's reading everything correctly and doing all my bug fixes. That's what's next, but I'm gonna do that a different day because I'm out of time for today. So thanks for coming by, whoever came by and said hi or whatever, or was silently lurking. Hope you learned something or just enjoyed hanging out. Alright, peace out, guys.